Today's interview for Justice Then, Justice Now, I think everybody will find interesting and informative. I'm honored to have on this today Mariel Colon. Mariel is an attorney out of New York. She is, you're going to be quite fascinated with her career. She is also a professional singer, and she'll talk about that. And more important, she's a FOT, and that means a friend of Toby. And that's probably the most important thing. She is very familiar with the work that I've done, and I'm very familiar with the work that she's done. And I'll just say that. And I have ultimate respect for her in the legal profession and in the entertainment industry. So I will turn this over to her, and we'll start our informative discussion. How are you, Mariel? How are you feeling?
Hi, Toby. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm feeling well. How about you? How are you doing?
Good. I'm okay. I'm a little tired. I had the flight from hell yesterday coming up. I sat on the tarmac for 2.5 hours because we had rainstorms in Orlando. And
Miami or?
Miami.
Orlando.
So, and of course, was loaded with Disney people coming from Latin America. Kids, when are we going to get there? Right. When are we going to see Mickey, all around me? So, it was.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, but it worked out okay. And I'm, like I said, really honored to have you on the show because it's going to be informative.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Of course. Mariel, what I have everybody do is do a self-introduction, and it's usually with your background, your professional career, something with the criminal justice system about that you like and dislike, and and also I'd like to talk about your entertainment and all that. Go ahead. I'm sure you have a lot to say on that topic.
I rather not. But so good morning, everybody, or should I say good afternoon? My name is Mariel Colon. I am a New York-based criminal defense attorney. I am a professional singer as well. And one thing I dislike, one of the many things I guess I dislike about the criminal justice system is how I guess it's not necessarily the criminal justice system, but more so the issue there is with lay people not understanding the law and then serving in a jury panel, and how that could affect a client, certainly clients like mine, where they're accused of a crime, and because there's other people sitting down who don't understand, the law, may get unfairly judged or treated because of it, because the lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding, because people really don't understand our justice system. So I feel like one thing I don't like is the fact that our society does not understand what a presumption of innocence is.
Why don't you give us a little of your background so people can really know who you are, where you came from? I mean, I know, obviously, but
right. So like I said, I am a New York-based criminal defense attorney. I've been practicing law for 6 years now, but most of you know me, or the people that do know me because of my first big case, which happened to be also my first case in my career, which was El Chapo. I represented Joaquín Guzmán El Chapo in a federal case against him at the EDNY, Eastern District of New York, back since 2018, and I'm still his attorney. And we've been together since 2018. We did the trial together, appeals, tried to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court did not want to listen to the case. But yeah, I'm most people know me the most because of that case, and also because of the Jeffrey Epstein case, where I also whom I also represented for about a month. And I guess the third case that put me in the spotlight was El Chapo's wife's case, Emma Coronel. So those are the three cases that I'm most famous for.
Yes. And I think that's got our audience's attention with that. And I do realize, and I need to inform everybody that you will talk as much as you can about the individuals in the cases, but as someone who is in the criminal justice system for almost 50 years now, we respect the attorney-client privilege, and there's things that you cannot talk about because of
Correct.
the relationship that you have with the clients involved. So,
Correct.
with that, how did you get started in the legal profession? What was your, when you were young, what was, and you're still very young, trust me, but what made you want to be a lawyer?
So I always wanted to be a singer, and I tell people that I am a singer who became a lawyer, and not the opposite way. Although I started, the legal career before the singing career, but so I've always wanted to be a singer, and because I like performing, I still do. Was my first passion, but my family wanted a more, I guess, a different kind of a career for me with I guess with more with a financial stability. And I decided to go to law school. I did my undergrad in Loyola University in New Orleans in music business. And then I said, okay, let me go to law school because then I can do entertainment law. And that is related to the entertainment industry, which is what I wanna do. But still there's some financial stability as a lawyer. So I went to law school, but the first year, right off the bat, I knew I did not want to be doing a 9 to 5 writing contracts for other people. I knew that was boring, and that's what an entertainment lawyer does. And I just did not want to do that for myself. And so I went and participated in the criminal justice clinic at my law school in New York. I did that clinic, and that's where I realized that's right then and there. I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do criminal work. I wanted to do but criminal defense work. So very early on, since the very first year of being in law school, I realized that that's what I wanted to do. I guess part of it's because as a criminal defense attorney, you have to perform, right? You have to sell a story, just like the prosecutors are doing, right? They have their version, their side of their story, and we have our side of the story. And you have an audience, which is the judge and a jury, and you actually, have to sell this story. And I thought that was fascinating to me, and that was the first thing that really like caught my attention about this work. And also, then as I got more involved with it, and I was able to go to my visit my first jail and interact with my first clients, right? As an intern, I realized that I also liked something about representing the underdog, right, or the accused. And I fell in love with the criminal defense side of the law, and I stuck with it. I did a lot of internships at various public defender offices, such as Legal Aid Society, the Queen's Defenders, many other, different public defender offices within the state of New York, which is where I was going to law school. And after I graduated, I sat for the bar. I was waiting the results, and so I decided to go on Craigslist. And I go on Craigslist and many other websites, Indeed, Craigslist, many other websites, trying to find a job because now, I was waiting for the bar results. I no longer had student loans. My parents were no longer helping me, so I needed to find a job. And I found on Craigslist an ad that said that they were looking for a Spanish speaker paralegal for a criminal defense law firm. And that was like, perfect, that's me. There are not many jobs for criminal defense firms. There's more like job opportunities for like family law or civil law, but very few for criminal defense. So I applied right then and there immediately. It was very general. It did not have any descriptions of what I was going to be doing or anything. It was just said Spanish speaker paralegal for a criminal defense law firm, part time. That's it. I applied. I remember I applied. I sent my email. They didn't call me right then and there. And so I kept on sending the email for about a week every day to make sure that my email was at the top of the list. They finally saw my email. They called me. They told me that I had, to go to a meeting. I went to the meeting, and then they sat down with me and explained. So we're a criminal defense law firm. Right now, we have a client who is incarcerated in a federal institution in New York. He's awaiting trial. The reason why we need a Spanish speaker paralegal is because the client does not speak English. He obviously has a constitutional right to review all the evidence, but because he can't read English, we need somebody that can translate it for him and also explain it for him. And somebody that's willing to go to federal jail for this, 3 times a week. And I said, okay, sounds easy, perfect. When do I start? When I asked that, they say, well, the client we want to make sure that you're aware that the client is this person. And obviously right then and there, I was like, I kind of knew the name, but right then and there, my brain did not click like who it was. So I was like, yeah, sure. Is that supposed to mean anything? And I Googled him, and once I saw like who it was, I was like, oh yes, definitely I want this job. Because immediately I saw it as a very big professional opportunity for me. All of my colleagues, they spend 20, 30 years practicing law to get a case like this, right? So me being able to, even as a paralegal, being involved in a case like this meant that was going to be professionally amazing for me, and I was going to gain a lot of experience. So it was like a no-brainer for me, and I accepted the job. I remember I had to pass a background check and many different security protocols because he's a SAMS inmate, which meant a whole different set of rules apply to him that don't apply to a regular general population inmate. So we did all of that, and once I was approved, I started visiting him, and after that, I kind of he got very used to my style. He liked how I worked with him. A few months after, I finally got the results back from the bar. I had passed it. And so he then hired me to stay on the case as his attorney. And so I instead of being a paralegal, then I became one of his attorneys. So it was a legal team, but I was one of the attorneys on the legal team.
Mariel, you're very modest. And, you've told us this mystery guy who you represented on your first case as a paralegal and now as his attorney. Tell the audience who it is.
El Chapo Guzmán, Joaquín El Chapo Guzmán.
What do you think the odds of
that's who it is.
What do you think the odds of that happening were? I mean, you must have been overwhelmed.
No. Yes, I see it still to this day. I'll always see it as a blessing professionally. I mean, this is the case you want to be. If you're a criminal defense attorney and this is what you do, this is the case that you literally worked your entire life to get, right? A case like this. And it was my first case. So to me, I could not believe it. I saw it literally as a professional blessing. There's just no other way to describe it. Maybe some people would say a blessing, because they don't understand it. But when you're a criminal defense attorney and this is what you do, this is the type of case that you prepare yourself for to get in the future at some point in your life.
Yes. And what was the etiquette for your first meeting with him? I mean, how was that arranged? You just showed up at the jail and you had all your clearances?
Yeah. So I already had all my clearances, and the attorney that hired me, she was supposed to go with me to, make the introduction. However, I still have my doubts about this story, but on the day of, as I was already there, it was like 20, we were supposed to meet at 5. So she calls me at 4:40. She says, are you there? Because I'm not going to be able to make it because I just left my wallet in the subway and all my IDs, including my bar card, were in my wallet, so I cannot go in. So you have two options. You can either wait 2 weeks while I get all my IDs and can get back to the, go back inside to the facility, or you can just go in by yourself because you have the clearances. You can go by yourself. I was like, listen, I'm not gonna wait another month. I've already waited. I need to start working, and also, I wanted to meet this guy. So I was like, I'm gonna go in, and so I went in. It was my first time going into a federal institution, so secured right by myself. So
Where was
obviously,
this
yeah,
at?
I
Where
was a
was
little
this
bit
MCC?
at the MCC New York, which is now closed. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So, and I went all the way to the shoe to the 10th floor, 10 South, which is like there's only four cells were because that MCC closed down, but there were only four cells on that floor. And he was because and they were all four cells for four different SAMS inmates. So meaning inmates that had SAMS on them, right? The special administrative measures. And he was one of them. So there were only four inmates there. He was one of them. And so I would go to the 10th floor and I would meet with him. And that was the first time. So obviously, and it was like from 0 to 100, right? On my first visit to that institution. So it was crazy. It was wild. I felt anxious in the beginning because I was locked in a room for like, it must have been like 30 minutes, but to me, it felt like 2 hours while they would come and get him. Um, Literally, I was like, oh my God, I'm never getting out of here. It was anxiety, like full on blast. But after that, I got used to it, I guess. And I started going 3 days a week to see him for 3 hours, but then it became 7 days a week. So I was there every single day, including Saturdays and Sundays, prepping for trial and obviously interacting with the client. So he obviously got to trust me. And then when I became an attorney, he hired me.
What was his reaction? I mean, most defendants, like at his level, which are high profile, they're gonna expect somebody coming in my age, with whitish gray hair, coming in to see him, and you showed up, and it's like, what was his reaction? I could imagine.
I guess because they were looking for a paralegal, paralegals are young. So I think that he already knew that it was going to be a young person, maybe fresh out of law school or fresh out of a paralegal course, or somebody. There's not, and at least in my experience, there's not many uh older paralegals. I'd say they're fairly young, in their mid 20s to early 40s. At least my experience, right? The ones that I've met. So I think that he knew that it was going to be somebody young, maybe a law student or something like that. Um, I don't. I mean, we just started talking. Like he really didn't have a reaction. He just wanted to get to know who I was. Obviously, who I was, who he was going to be working with, and same with me. I was obviously curious about many things. And so, but obviously, some of them I kept to myself until later on. Some others, I felt like I could ask, and it was very much a relationship, like a professional relationship, but like you also have to establish some rapport. It's impossible not to when you're spending hours a day, 7 days a week with a person, obviously. So you talk about everything, not just work, life, trips, anything, politics, everything. I wanted to also understand his brain a little bit, music, and I think he did too. He did so too. So that's how it was. At least for me, I learned a lot also along the way, because in a case like this, you learn a lot, and there's things that you'll never learn in law school that a high profile case like this will teach you. First of all, in law school, they don't teach you how to deal with the press. They don't teach you how to deal with somebody that already has a reputation, a negative reputation, and how do you represent somebody that's already stained, right? Everybody knew. I mean, there was not a single person in the jury, and the people that we actually, like interviewed for potential jurors that didn't know who he was or that had seen the Netflix show. Or so it's hard to defend somebody like that in a case like that because there's already a public opinion for him. He's already condemned by the press, I guess. So that's something that you don't, you live, you learn. Also, the public eye is always on you. So You have to behave different. There's certain things like you can't do. You have to be very careful what you talk to, who do you talk to. It's many things that, that really law school doesn't prepare you for. And also other, legal aspects that, they don't prepare you for that, really, I had to learn in like a matter of months. I didn't have 30 years to learn them.
Oh, yeah. What was the reaction of the U.S. Attorney's Office, the AUSAs, and the agents when you became his lawyer? What was
Listen,
that?
they gave me a lot of shit. I'm just gonna
Okay.
call it how it is. I don't care if they're seeing this. I hope that they're watching this podcast because they were hard on me. I think that they felt. I think right. This is all speculation. I was a young attorney, straight out of law school. So I think that that was unsettling. I think that they were nervous about that because I think that they maybe thought that I could do things because I could be persuaded, maybe, or that I could that I just didn't have the maturity or the experience to be in a case like this. So I don't think that they like that, and they try to remove me from the case. Oh my God, they
I
did
was going to
many things
ask
to try
that.
to
Yeah.
remove me from the case. They did, which I'm not gonna get into, but they played a bit dirty, and I also had to learn that. I also had to learn very early on that the U.S. government is not your friend.
Well, I
Not always.
no, not always, but I know as an agent, if I was in that situation, I would be talking to the AUSA saying, let's get a plea bargain in, let's get this thing in, and maybe we'll pull the wool over somebody's eyes. No, I'm being serious on that. That is a ploy that the government will use in that kind of
Hmm.
situation. So did you ask any time for a change of venue or anything like that? Was it considered or was going to be tried there?
We listen. We did not just because. Where could we put this trial that people don't know who he is? Where could we have taken this trial?
Maybe North Dakota
The
or
Middle
something
East?
like that. Yeah, the Middle East. Yeah,
No. Yeah, everybody knows.
fine.
Everybody knows who he is. So
Uh huh.
it doesn't matter which state. It doesn't matter. Like he obviously it's kind of like Trump. Who doesn't know who Trump was? Like, tell me, you know. So when you have somebody like that, really, there is no venue that's gonna like be more favorable to you, or or if anything, you do want a Democratic state. You don't want a Republican state, right? In a case like that involves a Latino man, so you want maybe a place where you can get more Latinos on the jury panel, but that really doesn't mean anything. When it comes down to it, it really doesn't. It's all speculation. Voir dire and jury selection, it's really all about speculation. There are certain things that you can, try to get, but I remember that we had our jury panel, and we had it all. We thought that we were ready, and the day the trial started, this juror decides that he wants to tell a marshal that he wants to get an autograph from Chapo. He wants a Chapo's autograph. So obviously he was already in, and we had to get the jury back in. And obviously he was dismissed, and we had to get another juror because the government claimed that yeah, he was a fan. He was not going to be, you know, he was going to be biased or whatever. But yeah,
Well, that's amazing.
so
Not
that
surprised.
sucked. He should have stayed quiet. He should have stayed silent. He should have asked for the autograph once the trial was
Oh
over. But
yeah, no,
no,
that wasn't obviously at the voir dire hearing a question like that.
seriously.
Do you something with celebrity status or a question with that? So that's interesting. So
Yeah.
you also represent the wife and can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I represent the wife. She also served time for a conspiracy as well, and different conspiracy than him, but she served 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, something around those lines. But now she's out. She's on probation, and I'm still representing her. So my colleague Jeffrey Lickman and I, we worked on that case together. And now she's out. I'm still working with her, but on other matters as well, just because the criminal case is over, pretty much. I'm still working with him as well. I still go visit him. Right now, we're working on trying to get his conditions of confinement relaxed a little bit. We're trying to get the SAMs either removed or modified, which it's going to be a battle. It's not going to be very easy. I'm sure BOP and DOJ are not going to make it easy for us, but we got to try.
Okay. And I'm assuming that he's still in the location where there's a lot of skiing, right?
He is in Florence and AD Max, the Super Max, so
right.
the
Yes.
Alcatraz of the Rockies, that's how they call it. So I guess it's the most secure prison, it's a federal institution, at least in the U.S. And that's where he's at. He's in Unit H, which is where they mostly have all the SAMS inmates as well. And it's a very restricted unit, and he is alone in his cell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He's not a general population inmate, so he cannot interact with other inmates. He eats inside of himself. He showers inside. He does everything in his cell. So the only time that he really speaks to someone is when I go visit him.
Okay, because we have had several inmates that were in that institution, and they describe it exactly like you do on the show.
And I don't know, inside of that institution though, there's Unit H, which is the worst unit, and then there's other different units inside of Supermax, but he's in the worst one.
Yeah. I know some of the individuals that are situated in that unit there.
There's a few, but yeah.
There's a few, yeah, going back that were moved out of Marion into that I dealt with. So what is his wife is now released here?
She's released. She's obviously in her probation period, but she is in the United States. Yes.
Okay, that was my next question. With that,
yes, she's a U.S. citizen too. So
right.
Yeah,
I know she is.
She wasn't deported because she's a U.S. citizen.
Right. I have a little experience with that. From a case that I worked where somebody was in double life sentence, and I took him home to the airport, and they went back.
You're brave.
Huh?
You're brave.
Oh,
you're brave.
I was a little nervous because she was released to my custody, which I think is very, very unique to the whole system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like 30 years later, amazing things do happen in life with that. I used life.
Do you think that'll ever happen to Guzmán?
I don't think so. I mean, the agents better than me and the judge. I mean,
I don't think there's gonna be I don't think there's a Toby on that team.
I don't know. Yeah, you would know. They rolled out the red carpet for you when you came. So that's what I have to say. And we had the support of the prosecutor, which was very, very important. I don't think we have that either. Yeah, no. But you never know. People can change over the years. I had one video change my mind about her that I watched, and as you know, and it was a good outcome in the end. So tell me how you got involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
So Jeffrey Epstein, he was incarcerated there around the same time where when Guzmán's trial was over, and he was awaiting sentence. But I was still visiting him because we were working on an appeal and other motions that that we were filing because a juror went on to Vice News, the newspaper, and said that they had violated, the judge's rules while on trial, that they did not stay away from the press. So we were, trying to fight that and trying to see if we could get a new trial before sentencing, or yeah, exactly, a new trial essentially. We tried. Uh, so so he was awaiting sentence to be sentenced. So Epstein arrives, and Epstein was represented. He had a legal team, but one of the attorneys was also one of the attorneys that was representing Guzman on the appellate level, Mark Furnish. And so I guess Epstein asked Mark. Uh, he also needed an attorney that would visit him regularly, meaning every day, to go over all that evidence. And a younger attorney, obviously, that would do this, because once you get to a certain point in your career, I don't know why my colleagues, they just don't want to go to the jail. They don't want to visit clients. They don't, right? So they leave that work to younger attorneys like me, to do the dirty work of going to jail, I guess, and meeting with the client. So he asked me if I would be, so he said, do you know of somebody? He Epstein told him, I guess, do you know of somebody that could, a younger attorney that could, do this? And I remember his words were like, well, to me at least, it's like, the only crazy person that I know that can stand going to that prison, to that jail every day, it's this attorney. And so he hired me. The next day I went. So literally, Chapo got sentenced on a Thursday. And Friday, I was already hired to go then to start visiting Epstein. I remember the guards were like, your client was just sentenced and moved, because he was sentenced. And usually normal inmates, they're sentenced, and then they go back to that same jail, and they'll move them within a month,
Right, when the
sometimes
BOP
2 months.
comes through with that.
No. He was sentenced, and that same day he was moved to Colorado. Literally. He did not get back. He did not go back to MCC. He went straight to Colorado on that same Thursday. And the next day, I started visiting Epstein. And obviously, we were a legal team, but the younger attorneys were there reviewing evidence with him and all of that. And I guess I went in for the job interview, and I got it.
Wow. And what was that? What was that like? I mean, you must have been making a name for yourself, because, and what you did, obviously, but you're representing two of the highest profile cases in the United States, and they're wondering, like, how did this happen, and how did you get this, and what was Jeffrey Epstein's reaction to you getting hired?
I mean, he's the one that hired me. So, yeah, because I went in, Mark sent me, right? The other attorney sent me, but he ultimately hires his attorneys. So he interviewed me and hired me then and there. He said, okay, yes, yeah. So that's how I got in on that case. I guess all my clients have hired me because, yeah, Guzman may not have hired me as a paralegal, but he hired me as an attorney. So that's how it's been with all my clients. They've hired me. I guess they see a positive asset, a value in what I bring to the table, even though I'm not the most experienced one, and they know that. Obviously, they understand that. But I have I guess a purpose, and I do it right.
They know
we all have a role in the case.
They know you're going to fight for them, and that's a good thing. That's how I get hired as a PI, because I have to, when I deal, and what I deal with mostly I deal with all cooperators and victims. That's my specialty as far as that. So
I get very passionate about my cases and my clients, and I guess that they like that. With this line of work that I do, it's easy to lose empathy. As a criminal defense attorney, after a while, I've seen it in my colleagues. They lose empathy. But I haven't lost that. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even though I'm not the most experienced one, they keep on hiring me, because they want somebody like that also in their corner.
Okay.
I mean, as human beings,
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the reasons why, I keep on getting hired. And obviously, I'm still learning along the way, and I have a lot to learn. But that's what I'm doing, and I fight with them. I fight for them, with them. inside of jail, getting better, conditions, everything, stuff that most attorneys really overlook because they focus on the legal stuff. Like prison conditions are very important to them because they're living it daily. And they like that I do that. Like they like that I don't get tired of emailing BOP, the wardens, the counselors 10 times a day until I get, the little thing that they're asking for. Or, sometimes they're unreasonable requests. But most times aren't. Most times are just basic human needs, like an extra sheet, a blanket, or, a clean uniform, or literally there are things like sometimes they're just basic human things that, jails in the US are tough. We say that we have like one of the best systems. No, we don't. Like they're tough. They're tough on inmates. They're not designed to re-enter you into society. They're not. They should be, but they're not.
Yeah. Sometimes they school people on
They're
what,
they're just they're straight up punitive.
yeah.
And that's how it is.
Yeah. And sometimes, in my experience, which may differ with you, is they school themselves on other things on the inside. So when they get out, they can go back and be recidivists. Okay. So, it's
They
both.
could be.
Yeah. So they also have
They
that
they could be
happen.
too, but because there's no options to, you know, if there were other options for them to listen, when sometimes they do it even out of necessity, like you get back and the whole world is turning your back. You can't find a job. You can't find a place to live because they won't rent you. They treat you differently. So sometimes, and I'm not justifying them by any means, but sometimes they just don't have other options. If they don't have a support system, like a family that will support them on the outside, 9 out of 10 times, yes, they're gonna go back because they don't have another option and they don't know how, and they were not taught how to do it differently because there is not a system in place really for them. Halfway houses, that's not effective.
So you're obviously opposed to minimum mandatory sentencing, right?
I Not necessarily. What I'm opposed to is the way the prison system works.
Okay.
However, I am definitely opposed to life sentences.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I
that,
I don't I'm not. I'm sorry.
no, no. And I mean, is that all life sentences, or let me just state my opinion, which I do quite frequently. As far as killing cops, I think I believe in capital punishment for that. And I know states, it varies with life sentences and capital punishment. Your views on that, you're a defense attorney, and I understand that. And your background is a very religious background too, like mine was, and it still is, except I miss a lot of masses, but that's my own fault. What do you think about that? Cop killers and people like that are incarcerated for, let's say, a mass murder, a child rapist.
So you want my professional opinion or my personal opinion? And I get those get mixed
I'd like both.
when we talk about when well, personally, I'm like you said, exactly. I'm a very religious person, and I don't think that I am capable to judge other person's actions or to determine what is a good punishment for your sins for what you've done. So I am opposed to life sentences or, capital punishment for that reason, because who am I to determine what you should get? Uh Obviously. Now, professionally speaking, I understand that because there are no other alternatives in place, sometimes that is the only option. I understand that. That doesn't mean that like I said, personally agree with it, but I understand it. Obviously, I can't change it. That it's the system that I work in, it's the system that we live in, and that's that. But I feel like um, sometimes because, for example, take a person that like is has a mental issue and he just kills and kills and kills and he can't control himself. Well, you're you're punishing that person, whether it be killing her or him or giving it a life sentence because he has a mental issue that he can't control, right? But at the same time, that mental issue is hurting others. So the only alternative is let's lock him up for the rest of his life or let's end his life. So, but because there's no other alternative, so I get it, but I just don't morally. Who am I to determine what you should get for the sin or the crime that you committed?
Yeah.
That's
And
just the way I see it.
no, and that's a good legal point and a morality point. I've experienced prisoners that I've had that have introduced themselves to me by saying, "Good morning, Mr. Roach. Nothing personal, but I'm doing multiple life sentences. If I get a chance to kill you, I will try to escape immediately." And I know that's mostly a form of intimidation. The reality is, it's not going to happen. They're not going to escape from me. But again, there are some that some of the gangs that are in prison that and these are vicious criminals. This isn't white collar crime or anything like that that I've dealt with in that. So hopefully you don't have to deal with those.
Right.
Okay.
I
So
haven't. I haven't. But, obviously, if you ask me, somebody, uh, take, for example, drug conspiracies. Most of them, literally because of the minimum mandatories that they get life or 30 plus, or I don't think that for drug conspiracies, you should get a life sentence. But then again, obviously, I just follow the system. I don't make the rules. And hey, listen, you have your own experience with Evelyn. Uh, I wanna hear about you and what you thought that she should have gotten a life sentence. You thought when you put her in jail, right? Were you happy that she was gonna get a life sentence? Did you think that she deserved it?
I knew there was minimum mandatory sentencing, which the judge, who was a very, very good judge that released her and incarcerated her, had to follow. She wouldn't talk to us. She was an individual who was beaten by her husband, and we all knew that. She had improper legal representation, who was representing the Cali cartel, to be quite frank about it. And we knew that, the self-interest. He's since passed away, and I feel with him there's a special place in hell for him because he didn't represent his client truthfully. And as far as Evelyn, yeah, she was abused. We gave her every opportunity to speak with us, and probably would have received 5 to 10 years under what was laid out in front of her for that. So again, she's much more productive back in Colombia, in my personal and professional opinion, than sitting in Tallahassee
Right.
for the next 40 years.
But she had minimum mandatory. So take a case like that. Maybe she wasn't deserving of a minimum mandatory, but because that is how the law is, that's what she got. So I wish that it was case by case and not, you just have to follow the guidelines and that's it. So that is my thing with the minimum mandatories. But I guess that is a topic for another day.
No, it's a huge topic. And
They're not just. They sometimes don't justify. They're not just. It's a a blank slate. Like it's like same for everybody, and that's it. But I think that it should be on a case by case. When you're gonna sentence someone, especially if you're gonna cut that person completely, his liberty, and you're gonna put that person essentially in hell for the next, whatever X amount of years. Like it has to be proportionate, I guess, the punishment to what you did and the circumstances, right, that led you to do that. But the system doesn't work like that. And that's why I don't like the minimum mandatories.
yeah. And like I remember when the crack epidemic occurred, they had people getting life sentences for as addicts, with the intent to sell, and that's what it fell under with that, because it was a big panic when it came in. And I wonder about the new situation with fentanyl, because now that's a real problem, because it's coming in from China and places like that into Mexico. And I had the head of the Mexico City office for DEA, who retired, on the show. And he's just, with fentanyl, he says that's going to destroy things. It's wiping out 125,000 people. You know, that's a small city in the States. And,
Wow.
I have my own political beliefs, which I don't put on this show, and I don't want it on there. But as far as border control, that needs to be enhanced. It's just, something that your generation will deal with the effects in 20 years, when I'm sitting in
Yeah.
the nursing home trying to remember my name. Kidding.
Uh,
But
uh,
you get my point.
don't say that.
Well,
I'm sure your daughter won't allow that to happen to you.
no, and even my ex-wife won't allow that to happen to me, hopefully. So again, you're such a lawyer, you're turning it on me. That's why you're a good lawyer, Mariel, because you know how to turn the tables. Let's talk about your singing career.
Right.
I'm amazed with that, because that was your childhood dream, and you've accomplished that too. And that must make your family I know it makes your family very proud to have that happen too.
Thank
Can you talk about that aspect a little bit with the videos? And she has great videos online that I've seen, and they're thought provoking and morally very good. I like the one with the military ending in it. I don't want to spoil it because I want people to watch it. But can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah, of course. So, like I said, I knew I wanted to be a singer since a very early age. My dad is a musical director and perform and drummer in Puerto Rico. And so I was always around music. I was always around that scene, the entertainment world. I would go to his rehearsals, I would go to his shows and everything. And from a very early age, I knew I wanted to be a singer. I knew I wanted to be a performer. My parents wanted a more traditional career for me, especially my dad, because he was inside of the entertainment industry and he knew how hard it was, and that there's really not a lot of room for people. It's very competitive, and it's just it's a tough world, the entertainment industry. So he tried to I guess not he tried his best to like steer me away from it. But when something is your passion, it just is. So I was a good girl. I went to, law school. I got I guess a more traditional career, how they want it. But I turned 30 to what, last year, no, the year before, and I went through a bariatric surgery. I was overweight. I was almost 200. I was actually 200 pounds. And so I got a bariatric surgery, and I lost a lot of weight. And when I lost a lot of weight, I guess I found myself again, and I regained my confidence. And with that, I also regained the desire and the passion for the music. And like, it was something that I turned 30. I look like this now. I want to do this because I don't want to, I don't want to not do something in my life because, out of fear, I wanted to do it. It was something that if I didn't do, I was going to regret. I feared that I was going to regret it. So I spoke to my family and I spoke to some of my colleagues, and I told them, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I feared that if I don't do it, I'm going to regret it 30, 40 years now. I am very scared that if I do this, though, that I'm going to lose credibility, and I'm going to lose my credibility as an attorney, and that people are maybe not going to see me as a professional attorney anymore, and they're just going to see me as a performer, and that it may affect my practice. But I'm more scared that if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it, and I don't want to live, with that regret, especially because it's my passion, it's what I've always wanted to do, and I'm good at it too. So I spoke to my family and they understood. I spoke to my colleagues and they thought that I should do it. and I decided to do it. I decided to do it professionally because I always sang. I always took lessons, but it was more like as a hobby, not professionally like I'm doing it now. And I went for it, and I am very involved in the regional Mexican. Even though I'm Puerto Rican, I sing. All I do is sing. All I sing is regional Mexican music, um, and I am loving every single step of it. I'm loving every single experience. I've already have 6 singles out. With all my lyrics, obviously they're very. I write my music with my producers, so I'm very involved in the creative process and in the and the composition process. Because I write mostly about my experiences or people's experiences, like personal experiences. Because I want people to feel identified with my music and with what I've lived, and I think that shows, or I project that on my videos because all my videos they have storylines, like you said, um, that many people can relate to. So yeah, so I'm very happy with the direction that aspect of my life is taking. I am working right now on an EP, which is an electronic production, which is a small album. It's gonna have 5 to 6 songs. Right now, I'm working on the fourth one, and I'm very, very excited. It should come out in August. So this summer, I have now between these like 4 to 6 weeks, I have a lot of work, like filming music videos, going to the recording studio, and doing a lot of stuff. And then, but I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see for the people, right? Really to see, the work that I'm doing and connect with my music. I'm still going to be an attorney. That's something I'm not gonna stop being an attorney. I'm still gonna do that. I still have cases. I just picked up a new case in the Washington D.C. district, a federal case, uh, involving also conspiracy to distribute, narcotics and whatnot. Um, that's mostly what they call me for. So I'm still doing both. I'm still doing both careers, and I think I found the way to manage them both and just be present at both.
No, that's great. I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure this will end up being a story for Hollywood down the line. I know it will be. Might have some
Let's hope
insider
so. Let's
information,
hope.
but it don't hope it's gonna happen. We know that. It's just like I don't like saying everything's blessed in life. You've worked for everything you have. I mean, this is your singing voice is great, even though I don't understand the Spanish. And like I said, it's
I'm gonna have to do the translation.
you can't train me. I can't. I play the bandejo. I understand, but as far as me speaking it, forget about it. It ain't gonna happen. So with that,
Oh wow.
yeah. But I've many of some people have tried to teach me it, but I'm a failure with that.
At least you understand it. That's the most important thing. So
I
you
pre-
know if they're talking about you or not.
I pretend that I don't though. I like that, because I like hearing. As soon as I hear gringo,
Of
my
course.
ears perk up, And I said, here comes something derogatory, and I heard that from Evelyn too, way back in the day, and I remind her of that
Oh
constantly.
really?
Constantly, yes, yes. So
That's funny.
what are your future plans? I mean, where do you see yourself in 20 years from now?
So I see myself as still being an attorney, but also, a singer. I still, on the legal aspect, I see myself expanding my practice. Right now, so my practice is in New York City, but I want to also take other state bars and expand my practice. Maybe also put a firm in Florida, maybe one in Puerto Rico as well, where we do state and federal cases, and also hiring more attorneys to help and everything. And on the other aspect, right, on the entertainment career or the singing career, I see myself hopefully, being a very successful big artist, very renamed, and just being able to make money out of the two things that I like the most in life. And I think that once you do that, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe you'll get an Academy Award winning song in the near future, you know?
Hopefully, I definitely, but I hope that within the next at least 5 years, at least I get a Grammy,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's,
a Latin Grammy and a Grammy, both.
there you go. Double-edged sword. That's
Yes,
what I always say.
that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah. Well, I want to
I
thank.
don't see myself having
Okay.
kids. Don't want kids.
You don't?
Don't
No?
want kids.
No?
I have
Okay.
a beautiful. I have a beautiful. No, I have a beautiful nephew, but I don't
Yes.
want kids.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big challenge in itself. But you know, with your nephew, that's quite wonderful.
More
And
than enough. Yeah,
and
I'm gonna have a second one now. So
oh, I didn't know that. That's good. That's
yeah,
congratulations.
they're pregnant. She's 5 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, and her family is very patriotic. Her, if I can mention your brother, he's in the military serving our country.
Yes, yes. He is in the well, he was in the Navy, but he was able to one of the very few people that like can do that, but he was able to switch branches and now he's in the Marines. And he's right now he's in Quantico in a training, a 5 week training where he can't communicate with nobody and yeah, there he's like on a one of those training camps or whatever they call it. But
Recon
yeah,
camp.
he's now
Hmm. Hmm.
right. So now he's a Marine Corps.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
yeah,
ma-
I was looking on the Facebook page because they
mhm.
have a Facebook page, and I saw a picture of him, and they had just shaved his entire head.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he'll get over it. It'll.
I sent him letters already. I'm waiting for him to respond. I know that they have barely time to do anything, but
Yeah.
he'll respond, obviously.
Yeah. Well, just don't send him liquor in the mail because the other people will razz him and they'll drink it, especially if you get some good Puerto Rican rum to send to him. You know.
Yeah, I'll be able to. So he graduates in August now. I don't know exactly what he's doing. This is 5 weeks.
No, he's not going to tell
But
you.
yeah,
That's why he's in that
yeah,
job.
I don't.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah. You can't
whatever
tell
they're
you.
doing, I'll be able to talk to him in August uh 3rd.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You got it.
I'm very excited. But he's like a tough. He's very he's literally the opposite of me. Obviously,
Yeah. Well.
he's
Yeah.
very different. He's very like he's very military. He's very pro government. He's very different.
Yeah. Can I mention he's an MMA fan? Because
Yeah, of course.
yeah,
He is a former fighter as
yeah,
well.
that's pretty amazing. Uh, you know that he was in that, and you know I just left that world a couple months ago. But as far as sitting on the sidelines with that, but that's why I'm able to.
It's like I don't know which one's worse: seeing your baby brother in the Marines doing whatever he's doing, which I don't know, or seeing him in the cage fighting. It's like, really, kid, you're gonna kill me and my mom.
Well, that's what he wants to do. You know, he wants to get at his sister. You know, that's how it is.
Of
I
course, right?
the same way. You know, but and that, but no, I appreciate you very much coming on here and
No, thank you for the invite.
turning the tables on me. Only a lawyer can do that. We just had Evelyn's. It's on YouTube now. The podcast with him. He's Paul Pelletier. He was the prosecutor
Okay.
and good guy. Complete opposite of me as far as politics and personality and that. Even though we're both from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I was on a different team. But yeah, he was a great prosecutor and an honest person, just like you are. Just
I'm
like
gonna watch
taking
it
on
then.
challenges,
Thank
taking
you.
on challenges. So anyway,
Thank,
it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Mariel. I'll talk with you soon.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you,
See
Toby.
ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.